What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Welcome to the live today. I am your host, Pete Altieri, here for the afternoon. Looking forward to this. See how many people we can get in here today. It's kind of hard to fight the good weather, at least where I am in the Midwest. The weather today is just amazing, in the 60s and blue skies and definitely nice weather. So it's hard to compete with that. So if you're out and about, maybe catching this on the replay, I certainly understand that. And we'll have a good group here, though. We usually do. Just kind of let people gather in here as I start to chit chat about things. But I'm going to go ahead and put the chat on so I could see you guys, see who's here first. Let's see, my eyes are still terrible. I see Donna. Excellent. Catherine S. No surprise. You guys are amazing. Just amazing. I appreciate you guys so much. There's one here in green, which is definitely not showing up for me, at least. I had the appointment this week to see the eye surgeon to get my cataracts taken care of because it's so bad. I can't. My left eye, they covered my right eye and asked me to read the chart, and I couldn't even see the E at the top. I mean, nothing. So they're going to do that one first. And so I'll be hopefully getting a date here relatively soon. I get that done because it's really affecting me being able to do what I'm doing here for you, as well as the writing. I can't write if I can't see. So I've got issues with that. That hopefully will be resolved here soon. Because in my house, depending on where the sun is, different rooms are a little more lit with natural light and at different times of the day. So if I can kind of time it right, I can keep myself working. But if it's too bright in the house, I can't see text and stuff. So it's kind of been a real pain. But and for writing, I've had to just stop because it just couldn't do it. So got an idea though for a short story that I think is going to interest some of you. I definitely want to. I want to do an audio reading of it, and then maybe roll it out here on the channel. But I've got this really good idea that I want to do as maybe kind of blowing the dust off it, kind of a thing, to get me going back in the writing mode and do this short story. All I'm going to say is it's the working title. I always like to work with a working title, but the working title is Sharp Edged Weapon. I'll just leave it there and let you think about what that could possibly be about. And but fiction, though, short story, fictionalized short story that I'll probably put in my next book, which will be after this autobiography. It's not really a true autobiography because I'm just talking about the medical drama in these last 10 months. But I mean, I will reference other parts of my life, I'm sure, but it's not meant to be like an autobiography of me. It's just to talk about this traumatic event or series of events. But it's just been crazy. So I wanted to write about what happened. So anybody that's new, I mean, that's the thing we always have to realize as creators is we have new people coming to the channel all the time. I mean, I've been getting crazy amounts of them. Most of my latest videos, I'm hitting almost 100 new subscribers each video. So, and you guys see how much video I'm putting out, one a day, which is a good pace. Not every day. Like today, I was going to do one before I started this, and I fell asleep and didn't get a chance to do it. I don't sleep really good, so when I get a chance to knock off for a little while, it's not a bad thing. But anyway, I didn't get it done. Hopefully do it tonight because I got family stuff going on tomorrow. So that's why we're doing this today. So I appreciate you being flexible with me. And we'll do these either Saturdays or Sundays, just depends on what's going on. I know during football season, people get fired up about that. So I want to keep that in mind too. I don't watch football anymore, but when I did, I mean, that was like a religious experience. So I get it. And a lot of people are that way about it. So that's completely understandable. But anyway, as people are gathering in here, we've got just basic rules here today. We got a new member here. Excellent. Let's see who this is. Alarax Mom. I think that's it. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Like I said, my eyesight's terrible. But thank you for being a new YouTube member. That's awesome. Now you're a member of the Horns High Club, and we've got the Horns High Club meeting right after this. So you'll have to go on the community tab. I'm assuming you'll be able to see the past Horns High stuff because I just did one this morning to put the link out again. So if you don't see it there, then come back to the chat and let me know before I leave this one. And I can send it one more time, I think. They let us do 3 posts a day. So I did 2 today. So I should have one more. But I could resend it out one more time. But everybody that's a member would have got a link in the post, and that's the one you'll follow to the one after this, which would be at 5:45 p.m. That's Central Time. I plan on doing this. Live until 5:30 my time, so it's an hour and a half, which is usually a good amount of time to cover stuff and get you guys involved. Okay, I get some sharp edge weapons there. That looks like I could do some damage. So yeah, we usually don't have trouble here in my lives, which is good. I don't want to deal with drama. Got some mods here in the crowd already that can help handle that kind of stuff. I've been terrible about the mods not giving you the email each week to touch base. So I apologize for that. That's I'm trying to like slowly get my machine in order, so to speak. And one of those things is correspondence. I get buried in it, and I can't get out of it. So if you've sent stuff in, I'm sorry. I'm trying it. The part of the problem is the reading thing, but as I get able to see better, you'll be getting those routinely. Even though I know a lot of you, like Donna, Catherine S., you guys are here all the time, but I shouldn't assume that. Everybody's got stuff going on. So if you've got something going on, we've got plenty of people to cover it. So we've got quite a few mods that have been working with us from before I got sick, or in the interim. I think we did a live or 2 when I was home from the hospital, but then going back in again, it was nonstop there for a while. It's just crazy. But yeah, so the channel is just really growing. It's nice to see it. I mean, we're right at the doorstep of 11.8 thousand, and I just passed 10,000 not that long ago, within a couple weeks. So, or if I don't even know, that's probably been 2 weeks. So that's awesome, and I appreciate that very much. Oh, before I forget, I've been getting people in the comments asking me what shirts I'm wearing because I wear some crazy shirts. And not everybody's a metalhead, so some of these logos are really hard to read. Even for me, who's into metal forever, the death metal logos I can't read very well with good eyes. But anyway, I thought I like to wear the shirts of bands that I like. Every now and then I'll wear some other type of shirt, but I'm a huge T-shirt freak. I love buying T-shirts and funny ones and movies I like. If I really like it, I'll see if there's a shirt for it. I just love getting the shirts. Um, So yeah, I'd love to get like a Latah County Jail shirt or something. That would be super cool. Um, but I like to represent it and support it. But if you can't read it and you can't see it, I'm not doing them any good. So when I do these, I'm gonna let you know what shirt I'm wearing. We do that on the podcast because you can't see us, but I thought why not do it here? So this is a UK band. I get a lot of UK metalheads watch me, and so I'm tipping the cap to you guys with the Bleeding. Love these guys. Death metal with a little thrash metal in there. So metal's not everybody's thing, but if it is, you get it. And so that's who I'm sporting today, paying homage to those guys. They were my band of the year or album release of the year a couple of years ago. We always do a countdown at the end of the year, and they were my number one album. Their last one that came out, it was my number one. Let's see. So yeah, we were at 11.8, almost at 11.8, a couple away. We should reach that by the time we're done here today on this live. Got people on the channel subscribing, getting me closer. Next hurdle, 15,000. So we should have no problem there. 100,000 though, that's the elusive one. That's the one you need to get the play button. So how cool would that be? I mean, and to think about when I started doing this, not this last December, but the December before. So December of 22 going into 23. That's when I started doing the channel legit. I've had a channel since we started doing the podcast, just because I didn't want someone else to take the name. But I didn't really do anything with it. But it wasn't until December of last year that the year before, that I really started putting videos out. And then, of course, I got sick at the end of May. And then I was really out of it from May till like November. And then got back. But then I was, trying to get my health back on track and my strength up. And so it took me a little bit to get back in the rhythm. And I'm still, like I said a minute ago, I'm still trying to get everything totally in sync. But the video part of it, I'm definitely in a routine with that and enjoying putting them out all the time. I hope that you guys do too. I get a lot of people that say they look forward to them, and that's definitely very nice and very humbling at the same time. So I appreciate that. Those of you that have reached out and told me that you enjoy them, and obviously I could tell by the views, but it's nice when you see it in the comments too. I've been having some issues with the camera on this laptop. I don't know what's going on. You guys remember the last couple lives I had to bow out and come back in. Well, that time I had AR on here with me, and so when I bowed out, he was on. I don't know what would happen if you're watching this and I just bow out. So if you totally lose me on the screen, just bear with me for a second, because what I was doing was getting out of it and then coming back in, and for whatever reason it turned the camera on again. And it's just real spotty. It does it when it has, the urge to do it, I guess. It's a computer, you know how that is. But yeah, no, not touching anything, and all of a sudden it just shuts off. And then you'll see my avatar. You'll be able to hear me, but you won't be able to see me. So if I have to bounce out and come back in, it might be down for 15, 20 seconds. So if that happens, just hang tight. And hopefully it doesn't. I'll do my best to respond to your questions. It's tough to do when I'm doing these by myself. Also with my eyes, and it's bright out today, so which means it's a little bright in this room I'm in. But I'll do my best. So send them in, and anybody that does like super chats and stuff, that StreamYard kind of highlights them, so I could see those really easy. But if you're just asking a question or something, I may not. But I'll do my best. I always get the questions. People ask me about how I'm doing health wise. Still doing well. My wound on my leg, my stump, nearly healed here within a week or so. They should release me from the wound center. Right now, it's one scar. It's about the size of a nickel on the very edge where they did the incision. And so once that heals, then they can release me to get the prosthetic. Prosthetic people have been calling me because they're like, "Are you ready yet?" I'm like, "Not quite, not quite." And then they're going to give me a catalog, and I'm going to look and see. I've got some cool ideas. I don't want to get a boring one. I can't get a boring one. So I'm thinking about one that looks like futuristic, or where you could see like gears in it or something, like mechanical looking. I thought that might be cool. I want to get that. And then once I'm situated with that and I can walk on it, then I want to get a tattoo going up my leg of flames going up my leg all around where the prosthetic touches my leg. So, I'm at the age where I really don't care. And I don't work anymore. I mean, not the day job. So I don't have to impress anybody but my wife. And she's cool with it. So yeah, so that's the plan is flames going up my leg from this either futuristic or gear related somehow, something or other. And if I can't find one that looks like that, I'll just have somebody paint it on there. That's another option. So anyway, that's what's going on with that. Um, and I've been doing physical therapy up again now that I'm done with the hyperbaric chamber. So that's been going good. And so their goal was to have me stand for 5 minutes this week, and I had like 5 minutes and 15 seconds. So I did it. And so now they got to establish a new goal. So got to be able to stand and then be able to hop with the walker. So that's next. So that should be interesting. I get random people asking me about how to donate to the channel. I usually put up a banner on these with that information on it, so I don't have to keep bringing it up. I don't like bringing it up, but obviously, with anything, there's bills to pay to keep the channel going, and there's all this stuff costs money. So I appreciate those that send stuff in. You don't have to though. You could be here for free, and that's fine. Just being here helps. So that's okay. But if you want to do that, there'll be information. If you can do PayPal, Cash App, or you could do Super Chats if you want. I'm sure Super Chat stuff gets 30% goes to YouTube, and then we get the rest. You can also buy merch, books. Man, I sent out a bunch of books today. So if you've ordered one or one in a contest, it's on its way. Okay, so it's all caught up with the book orders. I even had some people ordering some of my posters. I have a full size poster for my last book, Deeper Than Dead. That's really cool. And had a couple of people order those. But the problem is the way everything's all reorganized here, I can't get to where they are with my wheelchair. So I couldn't get the posters out, but we will get them out this week. I think I know where they are now. So I've been thinking all morning, and I think I finally remember where they went. So we'll get those out. But thank you very much, those of you that have sent in book orders. And if you did get a book order and you've read it, let us know what you thought about it. I'd love to hear from you. Email me or jump on the chat here or leave a comment. I'd love to get feedback from you guys to see what you think about the books, because it's something I've been doing now for quite a while. The Horns High Club, remember 5:45. We'll do your members only live, and the link is in the members or in the community tab under members only. And if you're not a member, you can do that. It's just $1.99. And so if you want to do that, I know sometimes people gift memberships to others, so you could get one just randomly today. And so that's cool. If you get one, then you can jump on there with us. If not, you can jump on there when you get yourself on the membership. I'm looking here to see if I recognize any other names. Let's see. bloody soup. That's a good one. That's a good one. Oh, we've got quite a few people in here. We're over 100 people in the live now. That's cool. All right. Well, I think we should get to it. So get yourself something nice to drink. Whatever you drink, go ahead and take a drink. Maybe we do like a drinking game with this. I'm drinking flavored water, so I'm cheating. I'm not really drinking alcohol, but I mean, if you were of the mind to do that, maybe we could come up with a funny drinking game to do on the live. So see who's still with us at the end. No, I don't drink very much at all. I hardly ever really. If I have a couple beers a year, it's a lot. I just don't drink. But oh, here's Donna. Man, Donna, you're so awesome. Donna, my paisan out there on the East Coast, gifted 5 memberships to Murder Metal Mayhem Horns High Club. So thank you, Donna. It's very generous of you. Very nice lady. And she, every now and then, I see her in the comments dropping some metal. We're about the same age, so she and I, growing up in the same area, remember different tours that come through and stuff. She was asking me about L'Amour's in Brooklyn, which is kind of a legendary metal club that was like a big thing growing up, seeing a band at L'Amour's. So I remember seeing Slayer at L'Amour's. It was just amazing. Well, let's see. We got a super chat, it looks like here. Oh, wow. That's very, very kind of you. Let's see here. Again, my eyes. So sorry, Ms. Blackheart Lobster. Wow, that's a cool name. Totally a seafood guy. Not as much lobster, more shrimp. But we just had Red Lobster because every now and then I just have to have some Red Lobster. But thank you very much. Very, very kind of you. So yeah, it's cool to connect with people from different parts of the country. I'm originally from the East, so I'm definitely was a fish out of water when I first moved here. There were some things that happened to me when I first moved here. I went to the grocery store for the first time and I see pop, like this shows you what's in the aisle and it said pop on it. I didn't know what that was. I was like, what's up with that? You guys sell guns here at the grocery store? No, it's soda, of course. And of course, I'm from the East Coast. I call it soda. I still call it soda. I won't call it pop. Sorry. Nothing against the Midwesterners, but no, it's soda. Same with sneakers. They call them tennis shoes out here, which I always thought was funny. But sneakers is probably funnier, right? It's just what you're used to. But the big one, though, when I first went to breakfast out here, like to a restaurant, everybody's ordering food and it's like really smells good. And I'm looking and there's this on the menu, biscuits and gravy. And I'm thinking, what in the world is that? Like, is that like brown gravy? Like over bit? Like that just sounded disgusting, at least for breakfast, right? So I was like making a comment about it, and everybody's laughing at me. And then somebody ordered biscuits and gravy. So I'm like, okay, like I'll check this out, and see what this is. And I knew it wasn't spaghetti because Donna's probably thinking, and all my East Coast friends are thinking, oh, gravy. They're talking about like Italian gravy, which if you've ever watched like The Sopranos or Goodfellas, we're talking about our sauce, but Italians call it gravy. So not that kind of gravy. Not that kind of gravy. I got a whole nother story about that, but I won't bore everybody with that today. But I am going to tell you this one. And it's so we're sitting there and he gets the biscuits and gravy. I'm like, man, that looks really good, So I ordered it the next time I went. And I really love biscuits and gravy. So as you can well see, I'm still a biscuit and gravy kind of guy. So what's funny is one of the guys that I host the Murder Metal Mayhem podcast with are my friend Shane up in Canada, up there in Manitoba. He he talks about poutine, which is, French fries with like a gravy over them and cheese curds, which is good. I've actually made it myself. But we were joking one time we were going to do a contest on the Murder Metal Mayhem of poutine versus biscuits and gravy, like a contest to see which one is the best. So, of course, I'm partial to that argument, but no, it's funny. I love regional things, like you guys in the UK got the bangers and mash. I'm sure that's really awesome. Everybody's got their thing. Everybody's got their thing. But yeah, so that's super cool. And I guess that's the Italian in me talking about food, right? All right. Well, I know you're here to talk about the Idaho 4, so let's get to it. I'm just being a little nostalgic, I guess, today. Now, if you're watching this on the replay crew, drop a comment below. But if you're not and you're watching this live or you're watching on the replay, hit like. Let's do that all night right now. Everybody hit like. If you've already done that, thank you. If you're not a subscriber today, then you need to do that before you leave, right? You can at least help the cause, be a subscriber, and join us here and the great community. I really enjoyed doing these with you. And so, sometimes we'll have guests. I'm trying to work at Lucky in here. I know a lot of you are fans of Unfiltered Lucky. Lucky's a great guy, but he's really busy. He owns his own business, so he's very busy, and so we're trying to figure it out. But I'm going to get him in here. Hopefully, maybe by the end of this month or early May, maybe we get him in here. So if you're a fan of Lucky's, stay tuned for that. Definitely want to get AR back. AR and I do lives, and we always have a lot of fun. AR is just an awesome person. And speaking of AR Hayes, how many people saw him in the hearing this week, all snazzy with his suit on? He was just big pimping over there in Boise, Idaho. So that was great to see him there with Jen, his wife, and the dogs, and just enjoying a little trip out there. I wished I could have been there. I mean, believe me, the thought came to mind of, well, I could just hop on a plane, but with me, it would literally be hopping on a plane, and that would not be a good idea before I know how to do it. So I just can't. I mean, I'd have to have somebody with me full time, and my wife works, and so it just wouldn't have worked out right now. But maybe when she retires, her and I could jump on a plane and come check out some of these trials. Thought about doing some kind of toyed around with it. I know AR and I have talked about this, some sort of get together. And I thought, he's living in Vegas. I mean, if we're going to do something like that, that'd be the place to do it, because everybody could, go there and then go do your own thing, so you wouldn't be just making a trip just for that. And maybe try to organize something with me, him, and Lucky, like live, like a live type of event. That would be super cool. I think it would go over well, especially if we did it somewhere like that, So it's just in the early thought, but I'd love to do something like that. But again, that would require, for me now, a lot more than just me jumping on a plane. Wish I could, but I need somebody with me all the time until I'm up on my feet. Then it'll be easier, but I'm still going to need the wheelchair. It's not like you can just walk on prosthetics all day long. They apparently, from what I've been told, tire you out, and also you have the concern of the friction of the skin and the breaking skin and all that. So there's that whole issue there. So, all right, so AR was there at the hearing in Boise. He was at the courthouse there. Him and Jen were there, and so that was really cool. Him representing the community there. I'm not sure if he's going to be here today. I don't know when he's traveling back. I talked to him when they got to Boise. He texted me and let me know they got there safe. They drove and they stayed in Salt Lake City and halfway point, and then drove the rest of the way. I'm not sure again if they're already home or if they're still out there and going to come home this weekend. I'm not really sure, but once I know more about that, I'll pass the word. And if you're a subscriber of AR or not, go to his channel, A Convict's Thoughts, and check out. He did a live with Lucky after he had been in the hearing that day, and it's good. I watched a lot of it. I didn't watch all of it. It was getting late, and I was falling asleep. But I see somebody here said hi, Pete. I could see that because you did it in all caps, but I can't read your name. Love Tina 2010. Thank you for that. It's nice of you. So yeah, we got people saying I look great. That's awesome because I feel like a 90-year-old man. So I appreciate that. I'm doing the best I can here, but it's tough. Everything hurts, and I'm trying my best. The hand's killing me. I think it's from the wheelchair. I'm not used to having to grip the wheelchair, so I think I pulled a tendon in my hand. I've got a neurologist working on it. So yeah, I'm constantly at the doctor. It's kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. But I'm happy I'm here to do this with you. So this hearing this week, what a mess. I watched some of it. I couldn't watch all of it. What is up with that judge? I mean, Judge Hippler, I mean, what is his deal? Was he like awake through this thing? I mean, there were times where he's doing this whole number and looks like he's falling asleep. Of course, that camera they got in there looks like it was, something I would have used in high school. Like you could hardly see any definition of anybody, but it looked like he was sleeping. And definitely very, very pro prosecution, which, I mean, that's all Brian Kohberger needs is that whole kind of crap, like what Richard Allen went through in Delphi. He got the same type of treatment. I mean, that Judge Gull was just awful through that trial, and how that guy doesn't get a retrial would blow my mind. Because if anybody ever deserves one, it's him. And if you're an Idaho 4, interested in Idaho 4, if you get bored, go jump over to Delphi, Indiana, and go check that out. That was right up there with it when it comes to police corruption, governmental influence and corruption, pick the wrong man, coming up with some weak evidence that, should have never, ever been brought to a courtroom. Same kind of thing. It's unbelievable how similar those two cases are. But if you're into that, go check it out because there's some really good content out there on it. I know that Lawyer Lee did a bunch of good stuff, and Bob Mata and Defense Diaries probably did the most stuff on it. Bob is a friend of mine up in Chicago. He's an attorney, but him and his wife do that Defense Diaries, really good channel. But there's a lot of stuff out there on Delphi if you're interested. But I've done a little bit on it, but not much. You guys never want to watch those videos. Every time I do a video other than Idaho 4, it doesn't get that many views. But then when I do something on Idaho 4, it blows up. So, I mean, I'm trying to give you guys what you want, right? I mean, you got to play to your audience, and I'm trying. But I would like to expand my audience to do some other things, but you guys just don't seem as receptive to it, and that's fine. But I would like to do other cases. I know on the podcast we do solved cases. So we've done them all on the podcast. I mean, we've done 266 or 7 episodes. And that's not counting bonuses. We've done all kinds of serial killers. I mean, Gacy, Bundy, Gein, Dahmer. I mean, all the classic ones. And then we've done some really obscure ones. We've done prison escapes. We have a buddy of mine that's a prison guard. He comes on. We do either really notorious prisons like Attica and Alcatraz, or some prison escapes like the Texas 7 and some of those, which are fun to do. We do those with the group, and we had AR on. We did one on false confessions. We had AR on the podcast, and you can go to the channel and look for the podcast tab, and you can listen to all of them. But there's a big but here. If you don't like rough language and adult humor and some sick humor, don't listen to it. I'm giving you fair warning, okay? It's not this, okay? It's like murder, metal, mayhem, after dark kind of stuff, okay? So it's a much different deal. So if that's your thing, you'll have a great time over there because we do a killer cage match. We take two serial killers and have them fighting in the cage, and we talk about the fight like it's real and everything. It's pretty funny. We get listeners giving us these random numbers, and we have charts we use, and it's a lot of fun. So it's meant to be fun, but it's dark, so that's not for everybody, and we understand that. So yeah, I see here Andrea Burkhart. That is absolutely fantastic suggestion, Cami. Thanks for that. Yeah, Andrea's amazing. The attorney, she's really good. I like the presentation of it. She's got a good personality, and she's very smart. And she's a lawyer, so she gets that jargon. But yeah, she's another good one to watch when it comes to either Idaho 4 or the Delphi case. But definitely good. I'm looking here at the chat to see if there's anybody else I recognize here. We're approaching 200 people, so that's cool. All right, so yeah, so Judge Hippler definitely. I don't get that guy. He doesn't seem like he wants to be there. One of those type, and very very pro prosecution to the point where it's so obvious it's ridiculous. And he just looked like he was falling asleep. And I know I watched the live that AR and Lucky did after the hearing, and AR was saying how it was hard to hear him, and it was hard to hear him on TV. I know that. If you're drinking, take another drink. I just took a drink of water, so you can drink whatever you want. I'm not telling you to do anything that's illegal, of course. You do what you want. But yeah, so I don't know what's going to come of that with him because he does not seem very, very helpful when it comes to the defense. So let's just hope that Ann Taylor has her act together because she's going to be in an uphill battle literally for Brian's life. So, I mean, we have such a divide in the true crime community over this case. I mean, you got the pro burgers, the people that are all about Brian Kohberger and think he's not guilty and he should be let out and all this. You got another side that says, that he's guilty as all hell and he should be executed tomorrow. And then you got some people in the middle that are kind of unsure really what's going on. And honestly, I mean, if you're going to be honest here, everybody should be on the fence on this because we don't know. I mean, we don't know. Now, I am on the fence, but I definitely lean to the left side on the side of I think he's innocent as hell because I haven't seen any proof of anything. And, we've talked before in different lives. I've done it a lot in video where we get into the whole idea of the DNA. And man, they were getting into that in that hearing. And some of that stuff, I watched a video last night. Scott Reich, another attorney I really like, does a good channel. But he went into this soliloquy about DNA that about put me to sleep. So that's the problem with it, is it can get super scientific. And with my channel, I try to keep it super, super simple because it's easy for the layman to understand. Some of you know I've sent it out or mentioned it before in different lives. I used to do training for people that work with hazardous materials, which is very regulated by the government. So I'm used to dealing with government regulations and explaining them to people that, for the most part, have a high school education, just like me. That's all I got. So I got to make it really simple for everybody to understand. So I like to take the complicated and make it simple to understand. And so that seems to have transpired here because I get a lot of people that like the way I explain things. So that's cool. But I did it for 30 years. I did it for 30 years. I did training for one person at a time. I did training for, I think the most was about 250 people at one time in a USDA building. So yeah, it was an interesting career. I met a lot of very very interesting people doing it. I did training in prisons before, trained inmates how to work with hazardous materials, and it was a captive audience, if you will. But no, the first time I did that um, was one I'll never forget. But at the end of the class, they had to pass a test that was 70% or better to pass. And two of the inmates, there were for the Bears, they were huge. And this one guy got like a 40. I mean, I don't even know how you could score that low on the test, short of just blindly guessing at the whole thing. Probably couldn't read very well. But whatever it was, he failed. And so the person that I was there, like my contact, was sitting up at the front with me, and I was like, man, this guy failed. And he says, well, what do we do? I said, I have no idea. So we had to call the health department, and they said he's got to pass with a 70 or better. But if he doesn't, you give him a retry in a couple weeks and let him do it again, take the test again. And so I told the guy that, and he's like, well, we can't have him do that. I said, why not? He said, well, he's from Menard, which is a prison where like Gacy was. I'm like, Menard, like these guys are, we did this at a medium security prison. These guys were all maximum security inmates. And so he went and told the guy that he failed the test. So the guy picked up a 6-foot table. He was sitting all the way in the back, picked up a big 6-foot heavy wooden table and threw it up at me, and then started charging the front of the room. And all the inmates piled on him and everything. Guards came rushing in the room. And then I was like, I'm out of here. See ya. And I left. But that was a long time ago, like 20 something years ago. And then I did it again about maybe 5 years later. And it was at a medium with medium security inmates that looked more like normal people. These maximum security guys were all jacked up and scary looking, and that was a much different audience. But yeah, I'll never forget that guy. He would have killed me if he would have got to me, I'm sure. All I had was a notebook, so that was my weapon of choice, was a notebook and a pen. And he was just a raging maniac. But yeah, he was a bad guy. All right, so I've done a lot of this kind of training before, and I think that has helped me to give you guys a presentation that's not going to put you to sleep. And with Judge Hippler, I had some doubts on if the guy was even awake or not. But what did you guys think about that whole argument with Brian's family? I mean, it seems ridiculous that we would even have a conversation of Brian's family. They weren't planning on testifying against them, so why would you put them on your list for any other reason than to just be a jerk so that they couldn't be there in the audience for Brian? And I thought that was interesting to hear that, and really pissed me off, to be honest with you, because everybody's been ripping on this guy for his family hasn't visited him and all this other stuff. Well, apparently they are very supportive of him, and they don't visit him because they live on the other end of the country and they don't have the money to be flying out to Idaho to visit him. And so I'm sure that sucks. I couldn't imagine, having a child in that situation and not being able to go see him. But but yeah, it's really messed up. But I don't know, what you guys, if anybody has a feeling about that. I mean, I know the judge said, well, then just call them early, call them first up, let them testify if that's what they're going to do, and then they can join the crowd, so that would be a good compromise, I think, if you're even going to call them. But they didn't even, Ann Taylor said that they never talked to anybody on the prosecution. Take another drink. I just took one. Um, so she said, that nobody had contacted them. So I mean, how are you going to call them as witnesses if nobody's even contacted them, right? So I don't get that. I'm going to look here in the comments and see if I can see any of the. I like this one. I'm going to put as Harsh would say, I'm going to put a pin in that. That's the wrong one. There we go. I'm going to put a pin in that, as Harsh would say, for a second. Um, I was just looking to see if anybody had anything to say about his family. Oh, here we go. Here's one. Here we go. Catherine S. The argument about Brian's family pissed me off too. The state is very strategic to make sure Brian looks like he has no support. That is very true, Catherine. You're very right there. That's for sure. And I hope you're feeling okay. I saw your comment. I didn't want to announce it to the world, but I saw your comment and hope you're feeling better, and hope that the Deeper Than Dead book will offer you some comfort there with nightmares until you over your accident there. But no, I don't think you'll have nightmares about it. But hopefully you like the book, and but your point is well taken here. Yeah, I think everybody's probably the same thing about that. So I saw this one from Karen Delcher, and Karen says the Grub Truck says it all, and also she mentions Linda Lane. Now, Linda Lane, I will admit, I've said this before here, I'm not a Linda Lane person, so to speak. I've watched and listened to a lot of it, and I don't know if it's me. I don't hear a lot of the stuff that people say they hear. The other problem with that stuff is so much of it has been doctored and enhanced and messed with by people that try. I don't even know what kind of sick humor you can have by making a fake, sound effects in the back of a video. So you get these people, they probably think it's funny. You got all these people staying up at night trying to hear things that aren't really there, but they're putting them in there. It's awful. I know as somebody that's done a lot of audio work, I mean, I could certainly create something like that would sound incredibly believable. You would have no reason to think it wasn't believable. And so that's just awful, if you've got the ability to do that. But the Grub Truck, that's some interesting stuff. The Grub Truck and the Banfield, I think, are the two of those quote unquote rabbit holes that I've enjoyed digging into. I know I've said it before. I wish more of the creators would give kudos to who they are inspired by or where they first heard it from. Because I'm telling you what, I mean, I'm not going to call anybody out, but I got a couple of channels that it's like the day after I do something, they're doing it every time. It's like, man, like really? And it's one thing if we're all talking about the same current issue, but you guys know I've done a lot of stuff here recently where I'm going back to the early days of it. I mean, I'm all over the place. And they're every single time, it's like, man, like, do you have an original idea? It would be one thing if they would credit me, say, hey, thanks to Murder Metal Mayhem for, doing this video, right? But they don't. So that's bogus. But when it comes to the Grub Truck And when it comes to the Banfield, I am always calling out Who to London and Bubbly Waters, both excellent creators for those two subjects, Grub Truck and the Banfield. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. And that's where I learned a lot of the stuff that I did from watching their content. Those two are super good at picking out really, really finite, details. I know Lana's, really great as well, but I've recently started watching Lana more. It's not that I didn't like her. It's just that she does these really long lives, and I just don't have that much time to sit there and watch 3 and 4 hour long lives. So I watch this pared down stuff. Yeah, that's why I know a lot of you like watching my 666 seconds videos, because I do it all in 11 minutes and 6 seconds. You know that. And wouldn't that be funny if that was a trivia question on some kind of, game show you're on? How many minutes is 11? How many seconds is 11 minutes and 6 seconds? I mean, you would just be like, I got this, I got this. It's 666. I still have people tripping out about the satanic thing. It's kind of funny because I don't take it seriously. I know some people do, and I don't mean to offend you if you do, but they get really hung up on the 666 thing, and it's just a goof. It's kind of a gimmicky type thing. I'm a metalhead, and back in the 80s when that satanic panic was going on and they were going crazy about everybody that listened to heavy metal was worshiping the devil and all this nonsense, and I just always thought it was funny, like, because it's so stupid, and like the West Memphis Three. I mean, you were talking about a case like the Idaho 4 that went south, and those three were put in prison, and one of them was put on death row for 20 something years until they finally got out. But the West Memphis Three, a perfect example of that stupid, idiotic, satanic panic that got a lot of people in trouble for no damn reason. And so I just did it because I thought it was funny. And when I was trying to think about coming to the YouTube world, I was watching the other creators and picking out little things about this one I thought were good and that one I thought were good. And then, like I said, I've been doing my podcast for years, so I've got my own way of doing things, but I wanted to kind of get a feel for what were people doing in the YouTube world. And then I thought the short content is the way to go. So that's when I thought, what can I do? 10 minutes. I thought about 10-minute murder, but I think there's one that's kind of close to that. So I was like, I don't want to do that. I'm trying to think of something. And then I thought of the 660. So I was like, how many minutes is 666 seconds? And when I did it, I was like, well, that's too cool. That's too cool. And I actually did a book, a reading, which I'm going to use as a bonus episode for you guys one of these days here coming up. I wrote a short story called The 666 Express, okay? It's about these metalheads that go to a concert and they win these tickets to ride this new train that can go 666 miles an hour. It's kind of crazy, excuse me, but it's all the guys from the podcast as characters in this story. And it's in my Creation of Chaos 3 book, which is on Audible. So if you like Audible and you want to hear it, you can go buy the digital copy. It's not very much. And the 666 Express is a story. But there's the regular version on there, and then there's a version with all of us doing our voices. So, like, I'm a character on there, so I'm myself, and so I do my talking parts, and then the narrator is done by a friend of mine, and then all of the guys do our voice parts. It's really fun. And then we've got some music from an Australian band that's a friend of mine, In Malice's Wake. And we have some In Malice's Wake music going on there. And the story is crazy, and it takes 60 minutes and 6 seconds. So it's intentionally designed for that. We do after the story, we do a little we discuss what it was like making it and stuff, because people are completely blown away when they hear it. Like, wow, this is really cool. There's like all these sound effects and stuff on it. So I'm going to put that as a bonus episode, just because you guys would get a kick out of it. It's a horror story, but if you're not into horror, you still might like it if you like Murder Metal Mayhem. So we'll do that. But Grub Truck stuff, going back to Karen here, didn't forget you, Karen. The Grub Truck stuff is very fascinating. I just did a video yesterday on Xana, right? And one of the things I've talked about here recently was it broadcast live. And man, I had people going crazy on me over that, saying I was out of my mind and everything else when I did it a year ago. And then I kind of brought it back and kind of readdressed it again. And I didn't hear as much of that this time, because a lot of people after I did it were kind of jumping on that bandwagon. I know Huda London has said she thought it was some sort of, she never said pay-per-view, but she said watching it live. And when I started thinking about all those Venmo payments that night, $6 Venmo payments, and I'm like, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if these sick bastards over there at Sigma Chi and these others associated with those fools were doing this as a pay-per-view. And maybe it was pay-per-view for the Fight Club, if there was a Fight Club. Maybe that was a thing they always did. And maybe this got way beyond that, like it got out of control, which is very possible when you know about the fight that happened at the frat house before they went. So I've been doing videos on 4chan here recently, and the Fight Club thing and some of these other topics. So these have been bounced around in videos I've done, so some of you may already be familiar with. But I referenced the Grub Truck because at just after 2 o'clock, you see a circle form in the background. It looks to be maybe a dozen people, maybe 20. It's hard to tell because it's dark in the back of it. But you could see a group huddled around phones, like all huddling around like a single phone or two, and they're chanting Xana's name. Now, why in the world would they be chanting Xana's name at 2:10, I think it was, around there, a little after 2? Why would they be chanting Xana's name on that? Now, if you've watched the Grub Truck, you probably watched it up until Maddie and Kaylee got there, and then when they left, which was like 1:45. But if you keep watching it, you watch some of that Bubbly Water stuff or Haruda London, and you watch it after 2, like I said, around 2:05, 2:10, somewhere in there, you hear a guy yell round 1, and then a bunch of them are screaming Xana's name. What is that about? That's why I think it was watched on phones, and maybe they had some sort of setup where, they paid and did it as like a pay-per-view. And I'm sure a bunch of college kids, there had to be a few of them in there that had, some computer backgrounds that knew how to do stuff like that could create a private kind of, maybe some sort of group on, one of these apps that a lot of people use. I'm trying to think of the one for gamers that a lot of the gamers use. You could set up maybe some type of private room there and do it. I don't know how exactly, but I'm sure it could easily be done. So I wouldn't put it past them. I really wouldn't put it past them. And then you watch the guys on the band field just after 3 or right around 3. Saeed, right? He's looking at his phone. And I know Huda London did videos where she shows a close-up of what's on a screen, and it almost looks like Kaylee with her back up to a wall. Now, that's disturbing, and if that jives with my theory of I think Xana and Ethan were attacked in the 2 o'clock hour, and I think Kaylee and Maddie were attacked just before 3. So I think it was 2 waves. I think Xana and Ethan could have been either in lieu of the Fight Club, or the Fight Club got out of hand and they were really beating on them, and maybe the deed was done outside and then they were brought in the house. I don't know, but Oh, I see we got a super sticker here. Thank you very much, Jackie Bushable. Bushable. Thank you very much. That's awesome, Jackie. Appreciate that. So, that's my theory on this. I really do think that it was done that way, but I know that it came out in the in the hearing this week about Maddie having no defense wounds. That's an interesting one. That was the video I'm getting ready to work on is on Maddie. Some issues I have with Maddie, and one of them is no defense wounds. So, could that mean she was first? So she was asleep or passed out. We know she was hammered because they released their toxicology. You could see her in the grub. Speaking of the grub truck, Karen brought up the grub truck. You see Maddie staggering around at the grub truck. She's really drunk, and Kaylee was with her. Kaylee didn't seem that drunk though, but Maddie was definitely on something. And then there's that part in the grub truck where that guy's standing there looking at Maddie, and then he makes the hands like up to his face, like sleeping. So I know both Hoot in London and Bubbly Waters. Those guys ought to give me a commission for plugging them so much. Hoot in London and Bubbly Waters were putting content out about that. And did the guy slip her something in a drink, and she, making that signal like she's going to be out, or maybe just noticed that she was just really drunk and figured she'd be passed out before long. Who knows, right? But it's interesting to kind of bounce that stuff around and talk about it. And I think that's what makes this case so fascinating is there's so many things like that. The guy with the Charlie Brown sweater at the grub truck, that's a fascinating deep dive. I did a video on that last year about Hayden Villa. That's that guy at the grub truck with that sweater on. All kinds of interesting stuff about that guy, and maybe I'll do another video on him if you're not familiar with Hayden Villa. But some grub truck stuff going on with him, and then also after he left the grub truck, he's standing outside that apartment building, kind of a weird situation with the cops that show up. And those are the two cops that were at the band field, left the band field to go to this apartment building, and that's where Hayden is. Him and his friend, and they like took a sign or found a sign out on the road, or I don't remember the exact scenario with him, but very interesting and very, very emblematic of what this case is like, with all sorts of goofy little rabbit holes and interesting little nuggets. You watch it and you watch it. You watch content where they pick it out. I'm not that good at picking that kind of stuff out, but I like to talk about it, and I like to offer my perspective on it. And I appreciate you guys wanting to hear what I got to say about it. But I'm not as much of a web sleuth as some are. Some are great, like Lana and Jules. Man, those guys are like lights out with that kind of stuff. If I ever had a law firm, those would be two I would hire. I mean, man, those two could do some damage. But no, they're really good at that. That's their specialty. I think everybody's got their own thing, and that's what aggravates me when you hear the creators talking crap about each other, because that's just not in good taste. That's why I said earlier, I had a couple of creators that I've seen kind of what I'm calling copying me, um, going right after me on several different videos I've done. But whatever. I mean, they say, the imitation is the uh, highest form of flattery or something like that. So whatever. I mean, I don't care, but I find it interesting because, that's obvious. It's not even like they're hiding it. And so I just think you should give credit where credit's due instead of just doing that and not saying anything, because I think that's not right. But also, I'm not going to put that out in my video. I'm not going to rip on some other channel, because there's tons of good channels out there. Do I like all the channels? No. Do you like all the channels? No. There's some I just don't care for. I see it in the comments. A lot of people telling me to go watch this or watch that. Some of them I read and I'm like, yeah, I watch them all the time. Or some of them I read, I'm like, I'm just not a fan, you know. Sometimes it's just the delivery, you know. There's one in particular. I'm just not a fan of his delivery. His information is interesting, but the delivery I don't care for. Then there's some I really love the delivery, but the material is kind of weak, you know. But overall, the very personable kind of guy or person that I could watch that doesn't rub my nerves like these ones that do makeup. And I just saw somebody in the comments that said they were glad I don't do my hair while I do true crime. That would be funny though, right? I mean, me and my bald head doing my hair. I used to kid my granddaughter about when my granddaughter lived with me for 5 years, and I used to kid her when she was combing her hair with a brush, and I would say, "Can I borrow your brush, Alex, so I could brush my hair?" And she would say, "Papa, you don't have any hair." And I would say, "Yeah, I do." And I'm like, "They're really, really small." And she'd rub her hand on my head. She goes, "That's not hair. That's just fuzz," or something like that. She was funny, but I used to like to kid her about the combing my hair. But no, you won't see me doing my hair. I don't wear makeup, but if I did, I wouldn't do it on here. No, I don't wear makeup, so you're not going to see me doing either of those things here on YouTube. I see somebody here made a note of drunk turkey. I was off. My eyesight's terrible. Cammy here likes drunk turkey. That's one that I could do without. It's just not my thing. But he's definitely a guilter, and that's part of the problem. Is I'm not a fan of the channels that I don't agree with. If they're kind of on the fence, it's one thing. But I'll admit I have not watched him for quite a while, so maybe some of us we differ. We waver from one side to the other. I know when I started doing it, I was much more like this guy very well could have done it, and then the more and more I learn, I think less and less that that's the case. Of course, somebody here comments. Donna comments a convict's thoughts. Yeah, A.R. Hayes is great. A.R. Hayes is great. Lucky, unfiltered Lucky. I mentioned him. An awesome channel. So yeah, if anybody wants to plug a channel, I'm down. If it's one I really don't like, I'm not going to plug it. But I can only think of one that I think I would do that to, but I don't even know if he's still putting out content. I'll leave that to myself. But one that really, really is annoying, but I haven't seen anything from him in a long time. All right. So, what else about that hearing do we want to talk about? Um, the AT&T Advanced Records. Now that got a little interesting if you watched the hearing because they were talking about those advanced records, and we all know that Cy had put a thing in his in that affidavit talking about how misleading the prosecution was, and a lot of us have felt that there's been a lot of games played and a lot of stuff they've done that's really not been above board. And Cy called him out. I mean, he said in his 30 years, he's never seen something so, over the top or whatever words he used. Really, really damning stuff. But then Judge Hippler was all, getting all crazy on Ann Taylor for bringing it up and saying, how people are, calling Cy a conspiracy theorist and all this nonsense. So I sure hope that Ann has the info to back that up because, man, nothing would pleasure me more than to seeing what's her name, Ashley Jennings, being disbarred or at least thrown off the trial. But honestly, if they did that, what Cy says they did, they should be behind bars. They should be behind bars for at least as long as Brian Kohberger's been behind bars. Because if he's there for reasons he shouldn't be, then then somebody should pay for that. Bill Thompson and her, put them in the Latah County Jail or that jail down in Boise and let them see what 2.5 years is like in there. I mean that's bogus. So if that's true, That's infuriating, and it should infuriate anybody, whether you're for or against, Brian Kohberger. I mean, the prosecution should never be making stuff up, should never be lying to cover up things, hiding exculpatory evidence that would help the defense. I mean, that if they're truly truth seekers, then they should be willing to go to the mat to find out who the hell did this. Because we all know, if you want to go as far as to say Brian Kohberger could have been involved, I'm going to say that I don't think he was alone. Okay. I don't think he did it. And he doesn't seem the type that would work with somebody else because of his autism. I said he was autistic back when this started, but he's not going to be the kind of guy that's going to work well in a team. Okay. He's a solo artist. I'm not seeing him pulling this off by himself. So that's why I don't think he had anything to do with it, because if he was involved, he would have been part of a group, but I'm not seeing him in the group with his autistic tendencies. So, that's how I see it, but everybody's got their own take on it, but I just don't see it. But they're claiming that Ray's claiming that they're hiding evidence and playing all kinds of games, and that doesn't surprise me, because they've been playing games with all sorts of things. When it comes to the time of death, when it comes to all sorts of stuff that has come out that conflicts against what they said about it before, and messages that just don't make any sense. They get dripping this stuff out, which is nice. We finally got some new stuff to talk about. But it's like the more information that comes out, the more confusing this whole thing is, right? I mean, these text messages come out. And of course, just like you, I was like, oh my gosh, reading these text messages and the phone activity back and forth, and Snapchat and uh, Instagram and Indeed and all this other stuff. And speaking of Indeed, I saw something on someone's channel or in a comment. Somebody brought up a really good idea. On Indeed, just like you can on LinkedIn or any of these other apps like that, you can correspond with somebody. So what if she was on Indeed to talk to somebody who she was wanting to hide from everybody else, right? I mean, that could have been a thing. They could have had this thing pre-set up where that's how they conversed with each other. I know I've read, I remember what case it was we did with Murder Metal Mayhem, where people were using the same email. Oh, terrorists. I think a lot of the terrorists in the early days were using like a common Gmail account and saving messages in drafts so the others could read the messages, but they were never transmitted. But they all had the password, so they were all using the same account. So people can get slick with this kind of thing. So that raises an interesting point, because I mean, what in the hell would she be using a job search app in the middle of that? It just doesn't make any sense unless it was hit by mistake. I saw somebody in my comments says, well, it begins with an I, and maybe she meant to hit Instagram and hit Indeed. I guess that's possible. I don't know. But it does make me wonder about the messaging. It also makes me wonder with Bethany and Dylan and these calls to their families, were they really calling their family? Or were they calling people that they had in their phone as dad or mom? I think that they were calling their families, but makes you wonder, right? How do we know that there couldn't have been some sort of setup like that? Put me in your phone as dad. We know Dylan was creating a new contact in the middle of all this insanity. Don't know what the contact was, but really interesting stuff there. So yeah, it's wow, we're at an hour and 15 already. I can't believe that the time has just flown by. Let me look and see. Um, Let me see what anybody's got any good comments here. Get some conversation going. Cami posted that she loves bubbly waters. Yeah, I like her content. Not all of it. Like I said, not every creator I think is for everybody, but I think she does some really good work. I mean, like I said, real detailed, like Grub Truck and Banfield. But she's been all about Linda Lane too. I get too much with that. Can't hear it. I don't know what people are saying. They're hearing all sorts of stuff there, and I'm just not hearing it. Let's see here. Oh, here. Somebody's talking about those names being faked. Yeah, I mean that very, very possible. Very possible that somebody would do something like that. Somebody here about the two cops look totally different. Not sure what two cops you're talking about, Valerie, unless you're talking about the ones at the band field. I think there were two or three there doing alcohol prevention or whatever the hell they were talking about. Is complete nonsense because to me that Banfield video, that's the one to watch because it starts at about 10 to 3 and it ends at like 3:15. And to me, that's when I think Maddie and Kaylee were attacked. Those final calls to Jack D, 2:53, I think was the last attempt they made the call. And I think that's when it was going down right then or right after that. And if you know those 4chan posts, those 4chan posts. I've been all about the 4chan stuff lately. So if you missed my video I just did this week on 4chan, go check that out because in the 4chan post they talk about 19 minutes, 19 minutes from start to finish. And that includes the walk there and back. And if you add 253 to 312 when you see him running across the band field, those four people on the horizon there running across that light, you could see them clear silhouettes, four people running toward the frat house. That's 19 minutes. You give them a minute to get to the frat house, that's 19 minutes exactly. So that's messed up. So here we got Catherine S., a member for 11 months. Thank you so much, Catherine S. And we got somebody else that was a member too, and I missed it. Let me see if I can get it. I got a cold that's not helping. So somebody else that flashed that was a member for so long. So I'm sorry I missed that. But thank you, Catherine, very much for that. Being so loyal because I was down for all those months in the hospital and I was worried I was going to come back to everybody would just have been just the heck with this guy, And I had like 45 members that stayed with me through that whole time I was sick. I mean, barely any contact with me. So I appreciate you guys more than you'll ever know. But that's why I'm doing the members only live here after we're done doing this. So we'll get together over there. We'll continue the chat. Talk about really whatever you want over there because it's a members only, and that's why I like to open it up more to you know, be able to give you a chance to interact with me, ask me questions. You want to talk about, the podcast, you want to talk about my writing, you want to talk about, Delphi, any of that, and Idaho 4, whatever you want to talk about. That's fine with me. So yeah, there's a lot of things with Idaho 4 that just get people pulled down these rabbit holes. And some of the creators, just really good at, spending time working on that stuff. The amount of time watching it, wow. They talk about creators making a ton of money. And they do pay fairly well, I think, at YouTube for what we do. But boy, when you add up all the time spent, like research and stuff, It's a very measly wage. I mean, if somebody was doing this to survive, I wouldn't envy them. You get the channel built up enough, I think then it would be feasible. But it's just starting out. I mean, geez, even me, I mean, doing a video every day and getting now starting to see, 10, 15,000 views in the first 24 hours pretty consistently. Still, there's no way I could survive on what I'm getting paid doing this. So I just do it because I like it. It's just fun for me. So thankfully, I got a VA pension. So, but but anyway, if anybody's got anything, we got about 10 minutes left. If anybody's going to want to hear about this, there you go, Cammy. You did get one of the books, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. If you ordered one or you got one in a contest, you should be among the pile that went out. But yeah, I had, like I said, where I keep the books is somewhere where I cannot access with my wheelchair yet. It's out in the studio. That's why I haven't been in a Hornseye studio since I've been back because I can't get out there. I got somebody coming to get some ramps in there. I'll be able to get back in there, but right now that's where the books are, so I can't get to them. So my wife was trying to help me. My wife works full time, plus she takes care of me. She's an amazing woman, and so she went out there to find them, and she was able to find everything but the posters. But we'll track them down. I think I know where they are now, but it was hard for me to get out there. It's hard for me to get out there. I can't get out there, so that's why we're just trying to keep up with it and been super busy here lately with just the variety of things going on. I got nurses coming in and out of here, physical therapy, occupational therapy, on top of all the other appointments I've been doing. So I've been pretty busy with all that. But yeah, I hope you like it and let me know what you think of it. And love to hear from you guys that get your books. I know I've sent books out in contests before. Sometimes I never hear anything. Usually I don't hear stuff. People, I don't know if they're reluctant to let you know what they thought. And hopefully they don't dislike the book, but well, whatever. It's fine. You're not required to let me know. I just ask that if you have a sec, you just blast me an email or drop a comment or something on one of the videos. I'll see it that way. But I try to read all of the comments. I can't. In the beginning, I was commenting back to all of them, but there's no way. I mean, I just can't. It's impossible. I'd need help if I was going to be doing that. Just way too much going on. So I like them all. I heart them all, which tells YouTube I've seen them, so they don't keep sending me them. So that's why I heart every one, even if it's one I don't like. I'll heart it, but then I'll give it the thumbs down. That's the official. I didn't like this, but I'm hearting it, so I don't have to keep seeing it every time I check my comments. And once you heart a comment, then it takes it off the list, so you're not seeing them all the time because you get hundreds of comments. I mean, you're just wading through hundreds and hundreds of these things. It's pretty insane. But let's see. This is one I'm not totally sure I can read. Did AR soften his opinion about the gangs doing it after? Yeah, I'm not talking about that. There nothing of that sort I'm aware of. I'm not getting into AR's personal life and I've not heard of anything like that at all. So no, don't spread that kind of stuff here. I'm not going to talk about his personal life. All right. All right. Well, I'm saying we'll call this thing done. Next weekend, I want to do this again. I'm not sure which, Saturday or Sunday. I'll kind of look at the schedule and I'll give you as much heads up as I can. So we'll do that again, and we'll talk about more because I always make a list of what I wanted to talk about. And I only covered the first like quarter of what I had set aside to go over today. So we could do this for hours more and I wouldn't have run out of stuff. But I don't want to do that to you. I don't want to do that to me. But don't forget to like the video or the live. Subscribe if you're not a subscriber. I appreciate you guys that do that. Comment below. Let me know what you thought, even if it's just throwing up some horns or just saying, hey, Pete, whatever. It helps the video get out there to more people. So that really does help. But next weekend, I'll let you know. We'll do the members only live directly after that. That seems to work well for me. Hopefully it works for you too. Those of you members that are still hearing this, I'll see you at 5:45 in the other live. So go to the other link you got for that. And we'll see you next weekend. And have a good week and be good.